Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Honolulu Museum of Art's Doris Duke Theatre. My name is Sarah, I'm the theater manager and programmer. Thank you all so much for joining us for the 15th annual Honolulu Surf Film Festival. This festival would not be possible without our sponsors. First and foremost, our major sponsor, Aqua Aston Hospitality. They've been a long-time sponsor of this festival, and really without them, this wouldn't be possible. I'd also love to give a shout out to our media sponsor, the Surf News Network, and Gary Keeley. Thank you for helping us spread the word on this festival.
Aloha from the Doris Duke Theatre here at the Hawaii Museum of Art. I'm Surfer Joe Teipel. This is the 15th annual Honolulu Surf Film Festival. And well, Kyle, I'm stoked. We saw the story about the legendary Dick Brewer, The Shape of Things, and what a masterpiece. Congratulations to everybody involved. I'll see you at the next movie. Aloha.
I did. What you were about. I'm sorry.
Hi there, aloha. I'm Teri Tico, I'm from Kauai, and I have known Dick for decades. I was actually his lawyer, that's how we met. And this film, honestly, it's been a work of art. I think the idea of doing a documentary about Dick Brewer started maybe 10 years ago. Sherry approached me and talked about the possibility of making a film, and I said, sure. So I put together a treatment, and we never did anything with it. And then came along Bob Campy. Bob is the director of this film. He is a force of nature. I don't know how he did it, but he got everyone in the surfing community to come on board with this film. He did close to 50 interviews for this movie. He searched for hundreds of hours for archival footage that would tell the history of modern surfing. And besides being a biographical documentary, that's what this film is. It's the history of modern surfing. So thanks very much. Enjoy the film. And they're going to tell you a little bit about how they know Dick and what their relationship was with him. And then we're going to open it up to you to ask questions if you have any. Okay. So Derek, let's start with you.
That was very emotional. Having seen it a second time, I thought it was even more vivid than the first time. Thanks for coming to see the shape of things, the soul of a surfboard going created by a master. Kind of like a lost art, but yet it's on the rebound. Boy, that was a rush. Being here with Teri, Jocko, and man Jody, and Pat Rawson, I'm honored, and I just want to reach out and say thanks for coming. Thanks for driving me here, Fat Cat, even though we were a little late. Melissa, Phil, and everybody else out there. We were all fortunate to be part of his life in Honolulu and Pipeline, North Shore, and Kiahi, and got him alive.
So are we. We're glad you're alive.
Thank you.
I want to say Derek really helped out a lot. I don't know, you're kind of like the glue that held us all together, and thank you so much for all your involvement, and aloha. And Jock, tell us about Dick.
My mother and father came over from California in 1952, and we were out on the North Shore in the 50s. I didn't know Dick then, but after we moved back in 61, Dick was pretty much the preeminent shaper on the North Shore, and I was just a Grimmy, but I was lucky enough by the time I was 13 or 14 to be able to get one of his boards, and things just took off from there. And having good equipment and having people like the people who were Dick's peers, like Mike Diffendorfer and Greg Nolan and all those people, all of Dick's peers and my mom and dad's colleagues combined with Dick's equipment made it easy for me to be able to get bigger ways and be able to try to copy people that we really looked up to, like Joey and Paul Stroud.
Joy, you're up.
It's my turn, okay. All I can say is, excuse me, I spent a lot of time with Dick in the early days. Sunset was when he first became really, really noticed. Of course, his surfboards were boards that I wrote. And because they were the best board of the day, and it was really an honor to have his boards to ride. Macaw a couple of times, and Sunset quite a few times. And then I was on the beach with Dick. I said, Dick, let's leave a while. Come to Kauai with me. And that's what he did. He left right away, went straight to Kauai, and that's where we hooked up. Started surfing in Honolulu, some of the better waves in the world at the time. And he was the key guy on the island of Kauai. So we all hung out with Dick and rode his boards. Okay, from his boards, I have one story that I should probably tell. I was riding it at Honolulu. It was a pretty big day, maybe almost 20 feet, big day. Luckily, it was a west swell that you could go right through and end up in the channel. There was no closeout end on that wave. So I was on one of Dick's boards, and a big wave, now we're talking big waves, I caught it laid behind, and I drove the wall, totally drove the wall with all the speed I could get from that board. And this is what happened. The board fell over my feet. And I was on the wall with my hands scraping the wall, and this 20-foot wave was just racing past me. So all of a sudden I went home, and I said, I wonder why that happened. And so I started making my own boards, which I had made already. And so I shaped a board that had a little more of this board, and that board was enough to go, that's not the way to go. So then I went back, and here's what I did. I made a board that had a much flatter bottom, V in the tail, flatter bottom, lower rail, wide point in the center, not forward like they were in the day. And then that board also had very low rails and fairly thick and fairly narrow. So that board I rode in Honolulu, and I go, okay, this might be another new direction to go with the surfboard. However, let's face it, that all the boards that have been made over the years, everybody had 2 cents to put into the evolution of the surfboard. And Dick Brewer was the key. He went from one extreme to the next. And as time went on, his boards obviously were in the perfect shape for the period. Thank you.
Rawson, tell us about your relationship with Dick. How did you two get to know each other, and how did he influence you?
Well, I kind of came along a little bit later in the game. This was like early 70s. And the last thing the North Shore needed was another California shaper. Right? There was no Japan market. There was no Town and Country local. This is way before all that. So I was a pin liner and gloss guy. And that came through like the lightning bolts. And I worked with Jack. I worked with pretty much just all the good glass shops. Well, anyway, Dick and I bumped into each other one day, and he goes, you know, I really like your work. I'm like, really? And I said, thank you, I really appreciate that. He says, come by any time. He didn't realize I was going to come by the next morning knocking on his door, you know, but my experience with Dick is as long as you have the right questions, I think I asked a lot of good questions, and you know, he taught all of us. I mean, there was a lot of people, and what I love about the documentary is it really brought everybody from just these two people that I always looked up to people going back into the 50s, you know. And he influenced all of us. It was so important. So I want to share that, and I had a great career largely because of his guidance, and he was a guru, you know. He showed us what to do, and he also showed me what I didn't want to do. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, awesome. I'd like to acknowledge Sherry Brewer is in the audience today in the front. And as you heard in the film, she had a great deal of influence on Dick. So Sharon, here's to you. Okay, we're going to open this up to some questions and answers, Q&A. So if anybody wants to ask any of these legends any questions, just raise your hand, let us know. Any questions? No?
Terry, I have a comment. What you were saying about the great work that Bob did as far as getting the archival stuff. To give you an example of that was the shot of Jeff Hackman with his father Harry. And not probably many people. Derek, did you ever meet Harry, Jeff's dad? Maybe not.
No.
Yeah, great guy, and he was the guy that got Jeff out at Waimea and Sunset when Jeff was like 11, 12 years old.
I don't know where a lot of that archival photography and footage came from, but it's really amazing, and it just shows the history of surfing for so many decades. But thanks to Bob Campy for sticking with it. It's hard work to do.
And I talked with him today about his injuries from the car, his bike accident with the car.
Oh, boy, yeah. Our director had a little bicycle accident yesterday, but he's okay.
Yes, thank goodness for
Okay, there was a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Joey, you changed my life. And Dick Brewer was a very good friend of mine. I was at Acid Drop one morning in the early 80s. 6 foot, glassy, nobody was there. I'm waxing up my board. Joey pulls up, and I go, Cabell, it's 6 feet, it's glassy, there's nobody here. And he goes, Phil, I'm going down to shipwrecks and wait for it to get windy. And you turned me on to windsurfing. And I was an avid windsurfer for 30 years on Kauai. That's how I first met Teri, and thank you so much.
Oh yeah, back in the day, Joey was just an amazing windsurfer, one of the earliest windsurfers, and I got some boards from you, Joey. They were pretty hard to ride. I don't know how you did it.
Terry, I'd like to also say that I heard stories about Jimmy Lucas and Joy and a few other people riding Outer Kings, was it? Which is like when Honolulu Lake gets to be 15 or 20, and then this other break way outside there starts to break. I don't know if I ever have gone out there, but maybe.
And Dick used to shape windsurfing boards too. And right before Hurricane Iniki, he had his windsurfer in my yard up on the north shore of Kauai, and he tied it to a kamani tree. It didn't come back for 6 months, but it was still there. So yeah, those were the days. Okay, anybody else have questions? Go ahead.
I shaped a few boards, and I always wondered, and maybe the shapers on the stage could comment, what was, or what were, the particular advances that Dick instituted, other than with McTavish, the shorter boards, in terms of length, rail, thickness, wide point, tail design, fins, that you folks might comment on as being particularly significant?
What do you think, Joey?
Well, Dick was the key for sure. Everybody added 2 cents to the design over the years, and everybody's incredible ability to surf that we all know and watched in this movie. So the design of the board slowly changed, as we know from the movie. But the bottom line was it finally got shorter, the bottoms got flatter, the rails got lower, and the white point moved to the center.
So in answer to this gentleman's question, that was probably not necessarily a complete innovation, but a refinement of some of the design innovations that had been maybe originated by people like Wally Forsyth and George Downing's era, and then Dick refined maybe Joe Quigg and Matt Kevlin. These people got the board to be more and more maneuverable, and then Dick refined the foil and the fin design and perhaps Mike Hinson, some people say, was the innovator, one of the original innovators, but perhaps not entirely. But Dick took all these various factors, 10 or 20 different factors, and created them into a well-foiled machine that not only went fast, but turned easily too.
Good answer, thank you. Okay, you don't have any questions? Yes, go
What
ahead.
was Dick like to have surfed with in the lineup? What sort of character he was?
Great question, thank you for asking that.
He was a goofy foot. That we all know. Yeah, he was really, we all have so much respect for him. So in those days, you had to earn your respect. It wasn't free, especially with the locals. You had to earn it. And so that was kind of where it all started from. And so obviously, Dick Brewer, with his surfboard design and his ability to create these incredible boards and then to ride them so well, it was really an honor to know him.
So to further that, what Joey just said, there was a couple of shots in there of Dick, not only in Pipeline, but maybe the one shot that best indicated his ability was the shot of him at Honolulu, forward, it's shifting his way forward and back in order to get the maximum drive out of his board. I thought that was a really great shot.
Yeah.
Pat, do you have an answer to that question?
I'm not sure if I have one on that question, but I do have a couple of things regarding being a shaper, looking at what Dick brought in. I mean, everybody watched the documentary. The theme is he would connect with people like Derek and Laird, or maybe before that with Jerry Lopez and Reno, with Joey, with Jock. He had this uncanny ability to bring people. They would come to him, and because he was wise. And I really think he gave a lot of credit. Maybe a lot of other people might not say the same thing I'm going to say, but he gave Joe Quick a lot of credit. All of Dick's rockers, I had all his original templates, the bottom curve. They all came from Joe Quick. And he had no problem saying Joe was it. And then Mike Diffenderfer came from more of the Pat Curran style, which was a flatter type of board, S-deck. And Dick always had that flat deck. Just had curve. So that was his influence on me. But I will say that, as a shaper, that Dick brought in so many different innovations. I mean, I think the film really portrays that, from toe boarding and then going back into the shortboard revolution, which Joey and Jock were part of. That was before my time on the North Shore. But I really feel like he is truly one of the most influential shapers ever that we've had.
All right, so if we don't have any more questions.
Can you speak to Mr. Rawson how fast Dick was able to shape a board?
He was really good at putting the outline and getting the money, and then of course, it would happen. I say that with love. Back in those days, I was lucky to even say hello to him, give him a couple $100, and go, hey, I'll make sure my 8.6 is going to be done for this season. But the actual shaping, he was very quick. With a planer, he would just plow, and I'd see all kinds of stuff. I mean, I never thought he was amazing with a planer, but wow, he'd come back with 40 grit, and all of a sudden the thing would be amazing. Derek probably knows better than anybody, but there was really a lot of school, tooling, how he shaped, and I don't know, I would say he probably took an hour and a half, 2 hours to shape a board.
Thank you.
You have a question.
I do. I have a question for the shapers, because I happen to know someone who's a talented shaper and who's self-taught. But so, what would you recommend, or what best advice would you give to someone whose passion is shaping boards, and it is such an art and such a craft, and I understand the engineering. I could see that. I mean, there's so much technical and precision to it. But what best advice would you give to a shaper who loves to shape? It's not a job, not exposed to Dick Brewer, What would you say to someone like that? It's a big question.
I got an answer to that. The key to that is, before you start the shaping process, you want to know what you want. In other words, you want to know everything about the board that's going to be shaped. And that's the way to get the job done properly.
Pat, how would you answer that?
I don't know, but Jay just triggered me, so. Way of doing that. He used to tell us, all of us, you see this thing, and he'd pick up the electric planer. That was what we used to remove the foam off of this raw polyurethane blank. And he says, before you touch that effing thing, you better know what you want. I'll never forget that because, you know, I just grab it and start going with the deck. And his thing was always from the inside out. He knew what he was going to build before he even touched the plank. And that was a big influence on me.
Very well done.
Probably for your friend who's passionate about shaping is to try to contact an experienced veteran shaper like Pat or Joy or somebody of their caliber and take a board that he's done and have them critique it for him, perhaps.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Great answers, thank you.
One of the main things, of course, is that what makes a board work or not is the foil and having the thick spot and the wide spot kind of complementing each other as well as the top and bottom rocker, of course. But if you don't have the foil correctly coordinated, then the board's not got a good chance of working.
Yes?
Just a quick question. I want to piggyback her question and piggyback this gentleman's question. And you guys gave great answers on that. But for Dick shapes, over the years, they seem like they were kind of fine-tuned for specific waves. How would they, like if, you know, the one board in the trunk kind of design, how would you say, did he have a board like that? And how would you design that or explain that? You know, from the 3-foot head height or even smaller to double overhead.
Are you talking about an all-around board, perhaps, or a perfect board? Or?
Yeah. Did he have one of those?
He did make some of those. I mean, Pat and Joey and I have seen some of the boards that he's made that would work for waves from 3 to 25 feet. Yeah, there were several. He made some in the fall of '66 that were like a big wave gun, but they also would work on a smaller wave, and they were over 10 feet, but they still turned easily.
All right, we're going to have time for one more question. If anyone has a question, let's hear it. Yes?
What do you think Dick Brewer's favorite board was? And what is your favorite Dick Brewer board?
Whoa, that's a really good question.
I think we need 3 answers.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, he made me a 10-4 that was in the movie there. That was probably my favorite board. When I loaned it out to a guy in the second Duke contest, it got broken, but I had ridden it enough for 4 or 5 months, and to me that was my favorite Dick Brewer board. Enjoy it.
I think there are several of those boards at Makaha, and obviously Sunset, and those boards that I rode were easy to catch waves with, and they were really, really wonderful. You could go very deep and drive the bottom and come up to the wall and get an incredible speed out of it. His boards were great. And we saw the transition over the years to what's being done today and what's being done in the early days with the big wooden boards and so on. It's just come a long ways.
I guess I just maybe add one thing that, you know, Dick was, of course, very instrumental on the first short boards, as you saw, with Bob McTavish in 1967, 68. But really, I think around 1972, Jack Reeves kind of talked about, he's my glasser too. I think what Dick really brought into surfing was a soft, low rail, because we had Mike Hinson, who had the low rail. I mean, that was 1970, 71. And Hinson's boats worked really good, and what Dick did is he always refined. I always felt like he would find the right team rider, and he'd refine it, and I think that was maybe one of his biggest contributions, is that soft, low rail that had the board had a foil in it. And a lot of shapers didn't understand that. They tried to copy him, and they were horrible. Dick put it all together.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and let's give a hand to our panelists. And as we leave, don't forget to vote.